Like a professional. Tonight we are grooving. We are grooving. We are grooving. We are grooving. Welcome. I know I'm right on time tonight. It's 7:59, hitting 8 o'clock. It's my anniversary. I should be actually playing a different song. It's my anniversary, but I can't sing, so I won't sing for you people tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're out there in Facebook land, in YouTube land. And if you're not, you know what? I'm good because it's my anniversary. It's the 1 year anniversary week of the Victory Speak show. And must start the show off with the sounds of Calabash, Caribbean jazz, based here in Toronto. And I'm so happy and grateful to Anthony Pierre and Darren Shepherd to allowing me to play this song. It is called From Whence We Came, with the steel pan in the background. Doesn't it make you just want to just like, yeah, I just had to raise it up again. Just had to raise it up again. Woo! Yes, yes, yes. Great show for a Monday, isn't it? Woo! Okay, I know I gotta get myself together because I'm loving the music. And whenever I listen to Calabash, I just get right in the groove. So get comfy. Hope you have a nice drink. Tonight, I am definitely drinking in my Victory Speaks glass. Thanks to Joan Pierre and Emily Mills for my glass. You know, they got it branded. And thank you, Diza Madiza. She did all my branding. So you probably can't see too well, but I know the water kind of hides it. But you see the Victory Speaks is on there. So thank you to those ladies for making my life so beautiful and celebrating me and celebrating this show. So tonight, it's gonna be good as it always is. So grab your notepad. You never know. You never know when the wisdom keys and nuggets are gonna drop. I know it's bright and sunny outside. If you want to take your phone, take your computer onto the patio or the balcony, but you gotta be here. So welcome to the Victory Speak Show, the inspired conversation series where iron sharpens iron. That's you and me sharpening each other. On this show, you will meet some of my iron sharpeners. And over the last year, you have met many of them. Guess what? Soon, in a couple weeks, it would be show 50. So you would have met them, so many of them. And these are the individuals that inspire me. They mentor me. Some of them mentor me and they didn't even know they were mentoring me, close up and from a distance. And I hope this show also sharpens you and helps you to find your iron sharpeners. And I am your host, Nicole Waldron, your voice of victory and your mental fitness coach. And I'm on a mission, people, to inspire you to live a life of victory, a victorious lifestyle. You see, we all need to be inspired as we mind our mind, creating victorious perspectives while we cultivate our lives while being transformed. Along the journey, we have to show ourselves and others some ovation. For this will help us to be restored, and as we yield to the process, staying humble, we will have shifted our perspective and operate with a victorious mindset. So, as you join me on this journey through these inspired conversations, I hope you will be inspired to have intentional conversations that will lift you up and enhance your life. No matter the type of conversation we have, good, bad, funny, you name it, we can be inspired. It's all about your perspective. It's all about shifting your perspective. And this is a place where I share with you some of the people as they inspire me, have helped me to shift and enhance my perspective. And tonight's guest is one of these women. I met her for the first time last year during the pandemic. And let me tell you, I think and I feel like I've known her forever. Shirley Joseph was born in Montreal and is an accomplished podcast and radio host, podcast producer, and entrepreneur. She is the co founder of the Chanela Network, a podcast collective and production company, and People of Canada Images stock website. Also, she's the creator and founder of Black Canadian Content Creators on Facebook, which is headquartered in Toronto. She believes that when I hear I don't see color, whether he or she, they realize it or not, what I hear is you don't see me, and what I feel is the hue of my skin is a casual dismissal. All I all of what I do is to help change this narrative in order to move humanity in seeing the beauty of our differences. You know we're going to get go in tonight. And some of her milestones, and she has had many. She has syndicated two back-to-back podcasts, Chanilla and the Cackle, and host of What's Up, Shirley? It was a late morning lunch drive on CKVL 100.1 FM. Community Reach co host on 680 News Talk AM Fridays at 10 a.m. in Montreal, Canada. And so, people, without further ado, and now let me tell you, she has blogs, and she has, listen, this woman is busy, and the fact that she's able to say yes to me tonight, I am just so ecstatic. So folks, without further ado, we're going to bring on the wonderful, the awesome Shirley Joseph.
No horns.
I
Actually,
needed
I'm
that one.
Haitian. We don't do horns. We do doom 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 doom. On nous allez. Do 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 do
Hey,
do 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 do.
we should have brought up some French music here tonight. What is wrong with me? Eh? What is wrong with me tonight, Shirley? I'm telling you. Welcome, honey, to the Victory Speak Show. I'm so glad you can be here with me tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for reaching out, for the invite. Anything for you. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. You always provide me energy and pure victory energy, actually. That's what
Thank
you
you, thank
do.
you. Well, it's the anniversary weekend. I was realizing, hold on a second. What am I going to do today? Who should I have on? I was so stumped, so stumped. I was like lost in the ocean, totally lost in the ocean. And the anniversary date is actually on Thursday, which is May 20th, which is my mom's 77th birthday. So, on Mom's Day, we can't really be doing nothing. We got to be doing birthday cake and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah.
Well,
So,
happy anniversary. I think were you trying to sing, it's your anniversary,
woo,
anniversary.
anniversary.
Do, do,
Yeah.
do
Do
you
you
know
know
what
what today?
today is? It's your anniversary.
We
I
need
love
some
that
singers
song.
out here. We need some singers out here. I tell you. Well, welcome everybody to the broadcast. And we got Sarah in Ottawa, Lovemore in Toronto. Thanks, Joan. Serena is in DC. Chrissy Thomas is in here. Wendy Jones. Wendy, we need you to play some pan. Oh my God. And Chrissy, is it your mom's birthday? Yes, my mom's birthday is on. You're telling me happy birthday to my mom. So thank you so much. So Cheryl, like I met you in the pandemic,
Yeah.
and how did the pandemic affect you and your family?
Um, it's funny. Clove and I, my hubby, and who's also uh, co-founder of the Children Network, we were saying how we're built for this. Like we are built for pandemic. you know, I'm very introverted, and I really become a hermit during winter, and it takes a lot for me to go outside. To do activities and stuff like that, and so this pandemic was a breeze at first. And then I'd say around October 20th, 2020, I started feeling like, I don't know, this pandemic is, not fun. And then by March 2021, I'm so done, and I realize I am a human being. I am a creature who needs community. That's just the way, as beings, we are built that way. As much as, even if you're the most introverted person, uh, uh, by default, or by, if it's like a really severe case, eventually I think this pandemic makes you realize how much we need each other as human beings, how much it is part of our mental health to be around people and to be
Yeah,
around community. That's how we maintain, that's how us human beings, we survive. It's with each other, through each other,
yeah,
working
yeah.
together.
It's so true. It is so true. What did you learn about yourself?
um I learned I learned a lot. I mean, this pandemic was, it was, first of all, I started a business in the middle of a pandemic, like really stepping forward. And I quit my job, and and that was insane to do that. But
Yeah.
I felt this need that I needed to take at my age, to bet on myself,
Mm.
at least to try, because I've ever since I was a little kid, like I grew up, my parents are both of Haitian. They're born in Haiti. I'm of Haitian descent, and they've always had businesses growing up. Like living in Montreal, they always ran a business. My dad ran like a like fishing store. He had a deli.
Wow.
He was always doing something, since very young. And I think it's just part of my family. Like my grandfather owned land and things like that in Haiti. And so having a business was always something I always wanted when I was young, just seeing how my parents did their own thing. And I just
Mhm.
never knew how I can do it, but I always wanted it. That's something I always wanted. But it took me a while, it's just life and having more insight. And I needed to go through the lessons that I
Mm.
went through. I needed to go through the healing, most importantly, a lot of healing in order to rediscover myself because of trauma. Sometimes there's certain traumas that really creates for you to uh, kind of out of survival
Mm.
um, become like a duplicate of yourself. Your old self kind of leaves, and then now you're kind of like a traumatic version of yourself. And it's like through therapy and healing and understanding forgiveness, it took me over a good 20 years of just kind of going through all of those exercises of and understanding and forgiveness and work to
Work.
kind of claim myself back and bring myself back to who I used to be, and then kind of reclaiming her again to kind of like, okay, let's get back to what were your dreams and what was the things you wanted, what are your passions that you wanted. Let's you don't have any other distractions anymore based on everything that happened to you. Now that you've healed that and understand that and know your triggers and understand how to work around them, let's get back into it to like your dreams and your passion. And then it happened during a pandemic to do that. So your soul knows. There's
Yeah.
like it, it just knows. You know how some people like overly plan things, and if you do, sometimes it just never will happen. And sometimes you just have to, most of the time, listen to your gut. Your gut, your spirit, whatever you believe in, God, universe, whatever, will tell you and say, yeah, you're good to go. Let's
Yeah.
do this. And that's
Yeah.
that's where I was. And so I really stay in faith of, I had a moment where it's like I said to God, like, I am your instrument. I am not gonna try to, there's that joke like, tell God your plan, and that's a way to make her him laugh out loud. And
Laugh out loud.
so,
It sure will.
right. So I just kind of came into a space of just like, I am an instrument, and just tell me where to go, lead me to where I need to be. And it's been a very interesting journey to do it like that, like to just kind of um, go with where I need to be instead of fighting my ego and insecurities to
Mm.
kind of take the lead. I had to really let go of these things in order to be an open vessel, if you will.
You had to literally humble yourself. And that's
Yeah,
what I hear. You humbled yourself in the process, and you recognized the mental that you needed to work on your own. It's funny how we didn't even talk about this before.
yeah,
Doing the mindset work. doing the emotional work, doing that emotional intelligence and getting the therapy and dealing with the trauma. And in the fact that we even having this part of the conversation in mental health month,
Mm,
when we're talking about, people are talking about mental health and we're in the pandemic, you know, I really commend you for doing that and seeing that you needed to do the self work and recognizing um, that you had to humble yourself. And that's one of the things I've admired about you. You're always so transparent and you're always yielding and you're so teachable. Like you're always learning. You're always in this space of learning.
yeah,
Um, See, Sarah's right on the money. Doing the mindset work. Yes, it is so, so important and so significant in this time. And
yeah.
what was a key thing you would say that really helped you to shift your thinking process to say, you know what, I need to do this mind work. I need to get my mental health into a different place to be healthier.
I was in a space where I was blaming everything outside of me
Mm,
for my for the fact of my circumstances or where I was in my life, whether it was my parent, like my mother, my the love of my life partner. I was just finding like I was just constantly just blaming the outside.
mm,
And actually, I started to work, like I'd say around my 30s, where, I had a conversation with my mom and really confronting her about just life in general and how I felt, and I've shared this in like so many areas, but my mother, who I love and adore, and but she is a narcissist, and she has no idea that she is. And
yes.
so one of the biggest thing growing up, was taking on a lot of the burden, a lot of packages, a lot of um, trauma that just never belonged to me.
Mm,
So when I confronted her, gosh, I think that was like 15 years ago, 20 years ago or something. Yeah, 15. And I realized like she didn't have the tools. Like she had no idea what I was talking about. She was such, I mean, typical narcissist, right? Total
oblivious to it.
denial.
Oblivious. Yeah. Oblivious to what they do.
What are
Yeah.
you talking about? Oh, I'm the devil. Like it's like what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And I realized like, oh my gosh, you really you don't get it. You don't understand. Like this is, if this is not intentional. This is really like you have no idea. So it's that moment. There was something about that moment where I was at having an outer body experience, and I realized, oh my gosh, like either I hold on to this or like a decision. I hold on to this or I learn from this, and I realize it's not her responsibility. It's nobody's responsibility on how I feel or where I am in my life. It's on
Wow.
me. It's
Wow.
on me. And it's funny because in my journey of healing myself and remembering that moment, like I know her story and I know my grandmother's story, and I don't know about my great grandmother, but I felt this sense of not only doing it for me, but when I feel, especially as Black people, I don't know for other cultures, because we have so much trauma,
Hmm.
that we carry, generational trauma. I felt this I don't know, like this innate need of knowing that I'm not, as I'm healing myself, I knew that I'm also healing all the women before
In
me
your family. Yes.
in order to break the cycle,
So.
So I don't even know if I answered your question, but I did to do that.
That was perfect because I've heard you talk a little bit about your mom and the fact that you were able to recognize one, the narcissism,
Yeah, that
and
was,
that takes a lot to confront somebody
yeah,
with narcissistic tendencies or
yeah,
behavior
yeah,
manifestations,
yeah,
and then still stand in the truth of who you are, because they will deflect on you. They will throw that bad boy back on you, and by the time you are done, you thinking that nope, 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 it yeah. It's to be commended, and I really really admire you for that. And it's definitely worth a conversation. We should really have a conversation one day on narcissism and dealing with narcissists and
Super
healing from it,
important.
because it's such a broad, this topic is so deep,
It's
Cheryl.
very deep too, and I feel like it's highly important, especially in communities that's been affected by colonization, racism, slavery, everything. And uh, we have in our community a lot of elderly or parents who are narcissists and have no idea. And we've normalized it by making jokes, by, the fact that, I mean, Black people, we are so creative and
Mhm.
we are hilarious. But that comedy comes from a lot of pain. And a lot of times I'm finding when I was, not in a way like learning, not
Mhm.
studying and researching more than anything about narcissism, I realized how much we internalize and shift our pain into comedy and music and a lot of creativity, and not realizing that yeah, a lot of our parents and grandparents are narcissists, but we have no idea. We just think that's kind of part of the culture and that's what makes it
Yeah,
funny or interesting, but it's more than that, you know? It's been
so
normalized too much, and I think it's something that we definitely need to talk about because how many times I've had girlfriends where it's like they're like, I don't especially I find I have a lot of friends who the moment where they decide, and it usually happens around the 40 something mark,
mhm.
40-year-old age, where you decide to do something for yourself. And I have many where their family almost want to disown them, or
Yes,
because they're you know what I mean? Because now they're not playing the
the
role that they
game
were,
and the role
yes, that was
and sitting in
given
that
and
box.
placed
Yes.
onto them. So there's a lot of interesting. It's very interesting how there's different, like you mentioned, levels of narcissism
Yeah.
that our community need to understand in order to, you know, pick up the triggers in order to move forward.
So we need to write a note to self,
We
because
do.
people, when they see, like they saw Donald Trump, they said, "Oh, narcissism," because they saw it so big and bold, and they don't realize how subtle and dangerous it can be. And I think it would be good to have that conversation with somebody who has history and historical context of racism and how that has played into narcissism. Because you
Yeah.
hit the nail on the head, how we've been culturized to think and behave a particular way and normalize it and not even realize it, and then we end up in these destructive relationships
Yep.
unknowingly, subconsciously, because it's the norm. Oh my God. Oh, we're going deep here. Sarah's like, yes, an honest conversation about narcissism is very much needed. Sarah, you will be deep in that conversation with us, girl.
Yes, Sarah.
Serena goes, I watched Red Table Talk where they talked about narcissism, and it really hit home, and it's very informative. And you see, you can be dealing with a narcissist and not know, because if you've been victimized by a narcissist,
Oh
whoo,
yeah, I mean, someone like Donald Trump, as a child of a narcissistic parent. Oh my God, he was very. I was saying that to hubby, like people don't know how triggering he is for so many people, like myself or
mhm,
others, and not realizing how it's just awful and bad. And I had to cut off media because it was just annoying to see media
yeah.
utilize and use his narcissism as a way for them to get ratings, and that was just awful to see for the past 4 years, you know.
Panel discussion. Panel discussion. It is coming up. Yep. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we
do
need
it.
to.
Sarah, note to self. Shirley, note to self.
Yes.
We're having that discussion. And I don't know if it's Dr. Chrissy. I saw you online earlier, and I need to find it. So that's the
Oh, that's
neuroscientist and the
awesome.
doctor.
Yes.
And now I need a historian. Okay, we're gonna do this. So you were talking about your hubby,
Yes.
your partner in love, your
Yes.
partner in life. Tell me about this hubby of yours. How did you meet? Because what people don't know is, well, you tell them the story, because you met your hubby early, and you guys have had a journey.
Oh man. I met him in high school. Like when my parents moved from Montreal to Toronto when it was just a little bit great timing just before the 90s or 80s recession, I
Mhm.
think it was in Montreal. And so there was a huge surge of people moving to Toronto. And I met him in high school, and I was not impressed by him because he was a white guy. And I was like, okay. Like actually he was the first person who said hello to me when I first came to the high school. And yeah, and it was interesting because I've always dated within my race, and so it was a moment where it was very strange that I here's this guy, and one day the senior year of high school, our locker was next to each other, and we got to know each other a lot more and talking, and I realized, oh, like he's like really smart. Why is he and he's really nice, and he was very I just never met someone who was very like very thoughtful and just really really smart. It was shocking to me because he'd hang out with kind of like the bad guys of the school, like kind of like the kids that the teachers didn't really like too much. And I remember like thinking like, why are you pretending that you're not like, why are you hiding how smart you are? And I don't know, he was just kind of like, oh well, and we've been together ever since. My best friend told him I liked
Wow.
him, and we just kind of like been together ever since, and learning from one another. And then when one of the things that I thought too was very fascinating with him, there was a lot of times I wanted to break up with him. One, he didn't want to go to college. Like he wasn't thinking of college or university. And I remember telling myself, if he doesn't get his thing together and don't figure that out, I am giving him a year and I'm gone.
Wow.
So thank goodness for my parents, who was constantly like, so what are you thinking about your future? Because like he didn't grow up in the best environment at
Mhm.
all. And so nobody ever really talked to him about that, like, what are you thinking about your future? What do you want to do? Like he was gonna work in a factory. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I've always been like, ever since I was young, I've always had a standard with
That's
guys.
so good though. That's so good.
And I have to thank my father for that, because when I was 13 years old, at the time I thought it was the most excruciating thing in the world that he did, and I was like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, he set me aside and he said, I'm starting to notice that young men are looking at you, and so I want you to know everything that I did to try to get a girl, like,
Right.
and
Ooh.
and I remember him, I was mortified. Like, imagine 13-year-old and your father tells you all his tips and tricks on playing girls and getting girls to bed, and this is what he would do, and here's this
Listen,
move.
more fathers need to have that conversation. Shoot, it would save a whole lot of us a bunch of stuff, let me
Yo,
tell you.
I was like, what the heck is going on? Stop, please. I don't want to hear. But I always say it's the best gift my father ever gave me.
Mhm.
And it really, I truly believe him doing that set a standard. And also for the way he treated my mother and things like that, that was
Right.
another standard that I have. So I was always like, to go back with him, yeah, I was like, if he doesn't consider, at least, I'm not saying like you have to become something, but at least attend
Mhm.
university or college. Like, see what's out there, like, see,
Yes.
you, go beyond yourself. So,
Mhm.
with that in mind, me putting some seeds, and he there's a whole nother story on my family and him moving in when basically when we're like in high school. I think the first he moved in with my parents after a year and a half of us being together. So that was a whole
Wow.
drama. The whole island of Haiti knew about it. My dad was in Haiti, really doing some business, closing a few things for my grandfather. And let me tell you, my father came back to Canada so fast.
Fast. Did he hire a plane to get here? Oh my
Yo.
God.
But my parents constantly talking to him was really super helpful. And now, like, he has an amazing career in animation. And then later, one day, I when he was in Quito, he went to animation. I went to Humber College for radio broadcasting, and and during my education, it was very tough because there was a shift in radio broadcasting,
Mhm.
moving from analog to digital, and I think Humber was trying to figure things out. And I got intimidated by the program, to be very honest, because the talent pool was just phenomenal. And just because of the sheer talent, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be
Did
in
you
front
think
of a
your race
microphone.
did your race play a part in that? Like when you're looking at the talent and then looking at yourself as a black woman in that time.
No, well, no, because there was another black woman and she was super talented. Like, she
Right.
was
Right.
so on the ball. And she just had the knack, the gift of the gab. She had the
Hmm.
voice. She had the like, hey, personality, like so radio. I don't know. This was before my time of like, I was not going through the process of understanding what I was going through. Right.
Hmm.
So, and how I was intimidated so when you are a person, and I still battle with this, when you are a survivor, when you are a child of a narcissist, um, one of the biggest thing they do when you're a kid is to take away your agency. So you're constant, it's a constant mind game. I was gonna curse.
Caught yourself in time. Go
Yeah,
ahead
I
now.
caught myself. It's a constant mind game, and it's a
Right.
constant like narcissist parents tend to always position you to be um very uh like that you constantly need them. They
Mm,
just place things in a way that to make you believe that you cannot do anything,
without them.
even think without them. And so I, during college, was still going through that. I was still living with my parents. And so, so you start to gain so much self doubt,
And
because
the
you've been,
identity crisis sets in. The imposter syndrome sets in.
oh,
The
oh, yeah.
every not even figuring out like, can I even go take this walk, because you're always doubting yourself. Always
It's
doubting
one,
yourself.
right. And, on Clubhouse, that's like the number one subject that constantly comes up, right? Is people
Yes.
talking about
Imposter
imposter
syndrome.
syndrome, which is like normal for any creative, any business owner, entrepreneur, anyone.
Mhm.
It's part of the human condition, right? But to have a narcissistic parent on top of that make you believe like you are an imposter when you're not, and make you believe that you're such an imposter that you need me to make the decision for you. You need me to figure things out because you are going to mess up. Because that's the
Yeah.
constant message that you get. You're
Right.
going to mess up. You need me. It's not going to happen because you're going to mess up. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not going to work, like constantly. So that's what I was going through. Not only the imposter syndrome, but also the
Wow.
the the trauma of like seeing all this talent and really like these voices telling
In your
me
head,
in
because
my
it's
head like
replaying.
you're
It's
not good
replaying as a
enough.
truth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not good
Because that
enough.
became your truth. And it's funny how you believe the lie, It's funny
Yeah,
how one can believe a lie as your truth and it's not the truth.
right. Yeah, exactly. So because of that, the second year you could choose what area in radio that you want to
Right.
do. So I chose production just to be not in the, not a talent, not
Yeah.
be, hide behind the tools and the little gadgets, and which I loved actually. And I discovered that I had a knack for it, and I always had a knack for it too. Like when I was a kid, and I've shared this so much that when my friends would play Barbie, I would pretend to be a radio host or jockey, and I would force my brother to be my co-host. So, like, remember when your parents would send like tape recordings back home and send it off, make sure they recorded it on Saturday morning or Sunday, and then send it off on Monday back home. Do you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
take my parents' little recorder, and as soon as my brother saw me carrying that, he would
Run
run
because he
because
knew. He knew you
he
were
knew
coming.
like, oh snap, she's gonna ask me to be a
Radio
co-host.
show her Cheryl is on the way.
Exactly.
On the way. I love it.
So yeah, so I did production, and I just loved it, and life kicked in. I wasn't willing to, again, it was all the self-doubt, right? I wasn't willing to move to Thunder Bay, because at the time, I think it's still kind of like that. You kind of go to a small station somewhere in a small town, and work your way back to the big cities, to
City, right.
Montreal and
Yeah.
Toronto and things like that. And so I didn't pursue radio. Life kicked in, and then one day I was working. We moved around a lot in Canada because of Clove's work in video game animation,
Right.
and so one of my jobs. I don't know. That year, I kept winning things, which was awesome. I wish it was like that every year.
I've never won a thing. Come on.
Really?
No. But
Ever?
ever.
You gotta like,
Yeah.
you gotta change
Can
that.
can I enter a contest and you make me win?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
that's
see.
cheating.
Yeah, let's see if
Okay.
we can figure something out. Put that energy out.
Yes. So
But
you were
I,
traveling around Canada. Go ahead.
yeah, I won an iPod one day, and it was an iPod Nano, actually, to be specific. And when I was scrolling through, because I'm a gadget girl, so I'm gonna figure every
Thing
single
out.
thing that I need to know about that gadget. And I discovered this thing, it said podcast, and I was like, "What's that?" And I clicked on it and I listened, and it was like revolutionary for me. And that was
Wow.
like, I think that was like 2007. Yeah, about 2007. And I'm hearing all these thoughts and shows and comedians, and there was so many, it was inundated. There was so many comedians at the time. That was like the number one category. There wasn't the amount of categories you see now in podcasting is
It's different. Was different
mind
back then.
blowing for me. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I think there was like 9 categories when I started. Now there's like so many major categories and
Every I
subcategories.
think there's everything that you can talk about. It's like on Clubhouse. Just like every topic you can think about, there's a podcast.
Right, right. And so Clove and I, for 2 years, we were obsessed, and we just kept listening to podcasts, and we loved it.
Wow.
And every night we would talk about what we heard, not only on the podcast, but it was just great to hear people's perspective on what they're going through in their life, but especially when it comes to current events, and not to hear it from the lens of, you know, of a news station that really, giving you the news to make money, or they can only say certain things and not giving you all the
Right.
details. So that was so refreshing. And one day we were noticing how our pattern, we'd go to bed, we would discuss about current event, especially or our lives. And then we would both notice how our perspective was different. Like we would be in situations, but how I experienced it as a Black woman was completely
Right.
different as him as a white man. Like we'd be in the same room, And I'm like,
Right,
you
right.
did not notice this? Like, and he's like, I don't know what
No,
you're talking
talking
about,
about. Yeah, yeah.
you know? And so we were like, I wonder if people think like us. One of the biggest thing, as us as being an interracial couple, is we always talked about racism. Like, we love talking about racism. Our kids, they make fun of us all the time. They're like, what are you guys talking about? Racism.
Racism.
you know and and we thought, like, I wonder if other interracial couple talks about the importance of not, all of the language we're learning now, we were talking
Mm,
about it. About, like, I don't see color, and how we completely disagreed with that.
right.
The understanding his privilege, and just all of these kind of things that we talked about on our show, that, well, to ourselves. And we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to create a blog about these things, about our
Wow.
lives, about our perspectives, and things like that. But when we were in the middle of getting a website done and things like that, and we realized, yeah, we're not writers. Let's just start a podcast.
Let's start
you know,
talking. Start talking about it. Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about it. And it was also a way for us to, I think, in some way, a healing
Mm,
tool for both of us. Podcasting, I think it reclaimed our voices in a way without us knowing. I reclaimed
wow.
my voice because of a child of a narcissistic parent. He reclaimed his voice as a child of parents who, one parent with mental illness and another parent who's an alcoholic. So I think in some subconscious way, for us, podcasting was a way to reclaim our voices, but also to journal our lives, so we have something to leave for our children. Like, we joke around that, we decided to start a podcast so that way our kids can save some money on therapy and just listen to our show to understand who you are, and then who we
That's
are,
powerful.
where we come from, and learn from our mistakes. And so that's what we started to do on our show, is talk about our mistakes and our wins as parents, or as employees, or as people, or as individuals.
I love the fact that, I mean, like, there's so many nuggets that you drop there in just sharing that piece of your journey and the rediscovering and the resetting and having those honest conversations. And as a mixed couple, being so transparent with one another and having the ability to communicate and be together and
Yeah.
stay together
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and recognize that your children can learn from this as other people learn from this. And as we're getting in the comments, so many people are like, I'm telling you, she's dropping the wisdom keys. And I'll even go back to the part as we talk about the narcissism.
Yeah.
Serena was in total agreement, being victimized by a narcissist. I watched a friend go through it, and even though she could see it, she didn't know how to escape. It was hurtful to watch, and I wanted her to get away. It was mind control. It's emotional
It
abuse.
really is.
It's
Yeah.
emotional. It's an abusive relationship, and
Yeah.
Caribbean parents tend to believe that after they have given you all that they could, that you owe them when you've made it through the pressure. And so it's such a dangerous thing when that happens, and the guilt comes in.
Yeah.
Yes, and Serena comes back. Yes, to see my friend believe the lies and how afraid she was to go against her ex-husband was hurtful to watch. He was very brutal verbally and mentally, and that kind of abuse, as you talk about, you had to do years of work and retraining your mind, your brain to think, to
Yeah.
know. And I just want to make sure that you see. Thank you for being so open and transparent, Shirley. And it is,
Thank you so much.
your conversation, as I always say, if we just can shift one person or allow one person to be open and to seeing or to healing, we've done our job as
Yeah.
speakers, podcasters, trainers. So I really thank you. But how did you even come across the name? Hold on a second. Chanela is the podcast, right?
Yeah. Chanilla is a portmanteau of chocolate and vanilla. Chonilla. Black and white. I'm the chocolate, he's the vanilla.
Chanela, I love
Yeah.
it. I so love it.
But
So,
it's so funny you asked that, because that was very important to us. There's a lot of things that it's so everything happens for a reason, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Because um I remember feeling after radio broadcasting this sense of like, oh man, I wasted time, I wasted my money. I'm not doing anything in radio broadcasting. Like it took me some time to kind of move forward like I didn't do anything in it, but it's so interesting how much that education
Mhm.
fell into everything that we did when we started Chonilla, like ed- subconsciously, actually. So to see everything that you see in all the lessons of podcasting
Mhm.
101 that you see online, or people have all these courses, the depth of it really comes from broadcasting. A lot of these rules
Right.
that I took for granted, or I utilized those skills and placed it in podcasting in the same way he utilized his skills in terms of as an artist on branding and language through color, like being
Mhm.
mindful of the colors that you choose and what it
Mm.
means and things like that for your podcast cover. And so our combined education was huge in terms of launching the show, and it's and it's so funny. I've had moments where it's like the first year where it's like, wow, hey, all that money wasn't wasted after all. Woohoo! you
Oh, I
know?
gotta give you, I gotta give you some flowers. Serena goes, love it, Chanela. Joan
Yes.
Claire, who's my bestie, goes, I heard Nicole speak of you a lot. Now I understand why. Enjoying your journey and making the change to who you are today is commendable.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
so good,
Joan.
Joan.
Thank
Yes.
you, Joan. Joan is awesome.
She is. She's 76-year-old awesome. She's
Yes.
going to be 77 this year. And, it would be, I've had her on the podcast once. So she's been here once, but she's going to be back because, we're now
I'm
1 year in.
excited.
We're
Yeah.
1 year in. So I got to bring her back for a panel because she has, like, you would love her. Like, she was a CEO of executive director of Caravana.
Yeah, she was in the panel with
Yeah.
the Dr. Vibe, right?
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
So
is
we're coming back.
amazing.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Vibe owes us we were
Yeah,
supposed to
I
do
was
this panel again. Like,
what happened?
Dr. Vibe, we're calling you out
What
on the
happened to
Victory
the
Speak
thing?
Show. We're calling you out. We're calling you
Yes.
out.
But I
So,
mean, I love broadcasting. I mean, I was a kid, like I said, I love watching people like Dan Rather and looking at his
oh
style of
yes.
communication. Oh my God, Dan is the man, of
Yeah. Yeah.
broadcasting. And like he's my hero. People like him and Oprah. Um, even
I
people
used
like
to sit and
Marcy
watch
Ian. I
Oprah.
remember seeing Marcy Ian on
Yes.
television, and she made it possible. Like it's like, oh wow, look at this beautiful black woman in like Canadian broadcast. I could
Yes.
do this, like
Yeah.
this is so doable. This can be done. And at the same time, watching her, I also felt the weight that she had on her. Like
Hmm.
you could just
Hmm.
you could feel it. She had this weight on her, and she
Yes.
handled it beautifully,
Superbly. Superbly.
like opened so many doors for so many women, not only black people, but black broadcasters in
Yeah.
Canada. And so I mean, podcasting honestly I find it's the most rewarding, healing. It saved me. It's one of
Hmm.
the things that helped me really rev up hardcore to redefining and, like I said, reclaiming my voice. It saved my life. It saved my relationship. It saved our relationship.
Wow.
It's a powerful medium, I find, and it's so when I speak to people who come to me and they say they want to start a podcast, and I hear that they're like, I just want to turn on the mic and me and my friend, we're just gonna, we have a great chemistry, and so we figured we'd talk about whatever. um I always make them shift that mindset, like of it's not just turning on the mic, you
Yep.
know
Yep.
it's a responsibility. It's kind of like, you always hear that with superheroes, with great powers there's great responsibility.
Responsibility.
Podcasting is like that too. You have to be mindful about what you say, because there's something about listening to somebody's voice um, and not seeing them, it's highly influential. I've had people who've met us and they know everything about our lives and they consider us
Mhm.
family,
Right.
because we're right there in your ear while
Air.
you're you know, driving to work or while you're running errands. It's like you're with them. They feel like
Yeah.
they're with you. And so it's a there's a huge responsibility, and just turning on the mic and just talking to your friend, you have to really think about, why are you doing this? What is your message? What is your goal? Because if it is just turning on the mic, you're going to wind up like most podcasts that only has 7 episodes and then you don't hear from
Yeah.
them again.
I was so shocked. I was so shocked by that stats that people are starting then it ends. But I can understand why, because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort, and one thing I recognize about media, and it's a place of influence, and I think
Yeah.
when people hear podcasts, they don't always necessarily think media, and there's a people tend to believe what they see on TV, regardless of what, and even in this social media landscape right now, all these different websites and stuff. As soon as something is printed on a website or spoken on a radio show, on a podcast, all of a sudden it's truth,
Yeah.
and I'm like, seriously? But
Right.
it's such a place that one has to be careful what you listen to and what you say.
Consume. Yeah.
And it's something, I totally forgot as we were talking here. You said you went to radio school. I remember when I came up here, that's one of the things I wanted to do was broadcasting. I totally forgot that.
Really?
Until you said it. I went to one of those schools and to do voiceovers and stuff like that. And I was like 20 or something. That went back into the
Was it in
recesses of my
Toronto?
mind.
Was it the School of Broadcasting on St.
Yes.
Clair? I
Yes.
went there. I went there
That was
before
the place.
Humber.
That was, I tell you, 6 degrees of separation, and you don't even realize sometimes where you have this instinct for something, you have this love of something, and it manifests. And you know what, podcasting has been healing, because to think that doing this show in the midst of the pandemic, um,
Mm.
even working on a TV show before this and doing different things, but seeing that it's come to this, and you don't have to worry about having a studio with a green screen and you have to travel here and you have to have this big television camera. Podcasting is changing the landscape. And, as we hear on Clubhouse and as we hear all the different podcast magazine and all these different people come out, it's going to be $1 billion, multi-billion-dollar industry
Oh
in the
yeah.
next little while. So it's really amazing that you've gotten into this space. So I want you to tell people, because I know that tonight you got to get up early in the morning. Uh,
Yeah.
but outside of, so you have the Chanela Network, right?
Yes.
And so that's your
Yes.
podcast, and you went on hiatus, you brought it out, and then you started this Black Canadian Content Creators in
Yes.
2020 in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Why? What's the purpose? Why was this important for you?
Well, actually, I started it around the end of 2017, and I felt so when we were doing Chonilla, we did it for 5 years straight, once a week, consistently. Like, I have right now an archive of 450, 500 episodes. Um, so when we were doing that after the 5 years and we took a hiatus, one of the biggest things when we started was there was very little amount of Black people, like really small amount of Black folks doing, hosting a podcast. Most of them were Americans, and somehow we found each other. I used to and continue to listen, and I always tell people this needs to be in like podcast history, right? Like if you start a podcast, you need to know this show, because they are I think the king and queen of podcasting, which is Keith and the Girl. And so um listening to them, and people, shows like Joe Rogan, back in the days, people, a lot of podcasters like them would create a forum, right?
Mm.
Now that was before having Facebook groups and things like that. And one of the great things every single one of them did was have a category for their fans who have started a podcast to post their latest episodes. And so I would every week share my podcast, and I ran into so many Black folks or people of color who started a podcast, and we kind of connected. We worked with each other. We without like even saying like this is what we're gonna do. It was
Right.
just such a natural synergy. Like how we would invite each other's on each other's podcast. That was unheard of, that podcasters would invite each other and
On the
share
show.
audience.
Yeah.
Now it's all over. This is what you
Place.
need to do, podcast marketing 101. you know but it was just, and or around the 3-year mark, we started seeing more platforms, kind of like what we're doing now. Things like Streamcast was one of them. Streamcast
Mhm.
was really popular. It's just like exactly what we're doing now. And we would pioneer this kind of live podcast where we would record our show, people could see us live, and we would interact with our audience as we're doing our show, as we're recording our show. And we're very mindful, like if I knew this show was on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., I'd
Yep.
make sure that I would not do a live show around that time, because I knew my podcast friend is doing that and push that and things like
And
that.
I
So I
think
just,
that's so important still because, I try my best to do that even right now. I mean, I
me
know I can't
too.
control everything, but I'm looking at when you're airing and I'm looking okay, what is Tristan doing today?
What is
Okay.
Carlina? I
What's Carolina
know.
doing today? What is Dr. Vibe doing? Okay. Where's Danny Stone? I'm like, okay, hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so we were very mindful of that, and I just love this natural connectivity. So around the 3rd year of our show, I was uh, very aware on and I think it's changing now, but I wanted to make sure that nobody knew we were Canadian, because there was this at the
Mm,
time weird
yeah.
stigma that Canadian content is boring. I don't
Yeah.
know why. So I made sure the words wasn't showing that we were Canadian. Like I wanted to be
Wow.
as broad as possible. And so when the 3rd year said, you know what, I think it's time, we've really got a footing and we were pretty established. Let's start including more Canadian people, comedians and content creators to have on our show. And I was having a hard time finding us. And I remembered that. So during my 4-year hiatus for Chonilla, and we moved after moving around Canada. We finally said, we're coming back to Toronto. That's it.
Yeah.
No more moving around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was mindful. I said, okay, what's a way that when we plan to come back, that I can find Black Canadians easily originally it was for my show or for whatever I'm going to do next. Right. But then when I was looking, I was like, there's nothing out there. It's really hard to find each other. It's really hard to see each other. And I was fed up. I said, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to create a group. That's it.
So glad you did.
Just going to create a group. And so it just kind of grew from there. It's really just a space where people can see each other, find each other. And on Instagram, it's to highlight, Black Canadian content creators, because we consume so much in Canada,
Hmm.
Black content, but primarily from the States. And
Exactly.
I felt I needed to, I felt this needs to change. And that I felt that let's celebrate content creators now and
Yes.
not wait until they become a Drake. Not that there's
And they
anything
have
wrong
to go
with
to the
Drake.
US. So they have, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because I
Yeah.
was frustrated too to see, why is it in Canada we only celebrate a Black content creator or any type of Canadian creator who
Yeah.
identify as Black or mixed or whatever when they reach that level, like The
Yeah.
Weeknd and
Exactly.
Drake. And so I wanted
Exactly.
to change that too. Let's not wait until they get to that level and they leave Canada, and that's when we acknowledge them.
Yep. Yep.
Let's acknowledge them now as they're on the come up, as they're doing it now, whether new or seasoned or a huge influencer. Let's celebrate these amazing content creators now and show some love and highlight them now. And then hopefully through that too, that it will create for people who are not Black to discover the amazing work that we're doing, because we're dope. This, and also in a way for brands as well to to notice us. And I'd say this pandemic, maybe not the first year of the pandemic, but now I'm starting to see more and more brands really like, I know they're utilizing the Instagram space to reach out
Yeah.
to people, because now I've had so many people like, I'm like, how did you, who are not white, like basically, you know,
Yeah.
non-black, how did you find? Oh, I just searched Black Canadian
Yeah.
and y'all
Yeah.
came up.
And that is so powerful. And I know you're moving and making this bigger, sorry, not beggar, bigger. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Because you've moved it to, you have it on Facebook. You have rooms on Clubhouse now. You're hosting rooms on Clubhouse, and I love what you're doing on Clubhouse, giving, Black Canadian content creators the ability to say what they're doing. Share. We've met some phenomenal people on
Oh my God.
Clubhouse that I
Yeah.
didn't even know exist. People that are working in CBC, who are working
Oh my,
behind the scenes, producing documentaries. I've been blown away
right?
by that space. And sometimes we have these really small rooms that are so intimate that we're able to share. And so I'm enjoying that
Yeah.
space. I know it's going to blow up even bigger than before, but
I
right
mean,
now we're
I
really
saw a
enjoying this
CBC
space.
producer who is like a producer for Family Feud,
Yes.
part of our group. And recently, like someone in our group shared, like, oh, look, someone from that production reached out to me. And I know it's because of that space. I
Hmm.
know that that the bridge was the fact that this space exists. And that's what and these are some of the moves that I'm doing, is to kind of like do more branding reach out, like right now I'm working like mentorship program that I'm part of with Ryerson, so that way their Black students have um, I think they just started a mentorship program called Race Forward. So
Right.
look to anyone, they're looking for Black anything. They're looking for Black social workers, they're looking for Black therapists, whatever that you do
Wow.
is your skill. They are looking and they want to match these kids with you if you have the skills. So, and I know because of the space existing, I you know, I was tapped. And so I this space I have created such great opportunities. I've you have no idea, so many times people don't know that I give their names out to so many brands or so
That
many
is
other
so awesome.
people. And because that's the whole point, is so that we're easily found, and that our voices are heard, and you don't have to have 100K
Yeah.
followers, that your voice is still important even at 1,000 followers, so
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's about shifting and changing all that kind of mindset.
I gotta give you some more flowers. Come on now, acknowledging everyone now, sister. That's from Wendy. Yes, it
Yes,
is so
Wendy.
important. It is so important. Joan is like, Joan is like, it's so funny that we went to the same school, and she did too. I didn't even know, Joan, that you
Are
even
you
went there.
serious?
This is so funny. And she said, I left it behind. You will only get a job in Thunder Bay, not Ontario. I left it behind. Hilarious. You see, it's so funny
Yeah.
as you start to talk and you share history, because our histories are so rich and so full that we
Mhm.
don't know. We can, no matter how long you know somebody, you will always find something to learn about. And so as we start winding down the conversation, you've added one more thing. Well, one more thing that I know of, because
Mhm.
you're always adding something. I'm like, what do you? Then I see you doing something else today. The POC images,
Yes,
the
thank
People
you
of
for
Canada
mentioning that.
images, with Joanne Britton. Tell
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that.
So POC Images, which stands for People of Canada Images, it's a stock agency that Joe and I started. Joe and I met in Montreal because of Chonilla, actually. When I was doing Chonilla, and we were tapped to do like a month or two stint on talk radio, and Joe was very well connected with comedians. And all the comedians that we would invite on our show, her name kept coming up. You need to know this girl named Joe. You need to girl named Joe. And so I just reached out to her. I'm like, hey, hi, my name is Shirley. All the comedians are telling me I need to like get to know you. and and that's how we started the conversation. And we've been
Wow.
friends ever since. And she's like me, like what she does with Mob's Press is to help a lot of comedians and artists, predominantly music artists, like to basically get them to have a website, to have a
Mhm.
social and digital presence.
Presence,
And she
right.
does that very well. And so we've always stayed in touch, and she knows how much, like, we both love social media, and
Yeah.
she's aware of my knowledge in it. And so sometimes when she'd have a client, we'd work together. And what we were finding when we'd work together for a client, when we were trying to find stock images, specifically if it had to relate to Black stocks in
Yes.
Canada, we were having a hard time. And
Mhm.
so, out of frustration, because we couldn't find it at the time, unfortunately, before COVID, it
Right.
was very hard.
Right.
After COVID, it you started finding more stocks, but now it's kind of slowed down again. So we just said, you know what? Let's just create our own space. Let's create a site where not only people can find images where the subjects are predominantly Black and Indigenous.
Mm.
Let's change the narrative because a lot of times in these stock photography sites, when you look for Indigenous images, it's always Indigenous people in traditional wear,
Yep.
and you hardly see them doing regular things. Like, I want to
Yes.
see an Indigenous person in the kitchen with a kid, with their kids or
Exactly.
family. So and or even Black people, like, it usually would be a Black family of lighter skin, and we
Yeah.
wanted to, like, let's let's reach out to photographers as well, who are predominantly, not any photographer can basically be a
Yeah.
vendor on the site, but if you are a photographer, whatever culture you are, that the importance that what we're looking for is that 80% of our images represent Black and Indigenous
Right.
subjects. And also through the site, we want to elevate and feature amazing Black and Indigenous Canadian photographers as well. And so we're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's create the space. As you notice, I just start things out of frustration.
You
It's my
find the
Haitian
you
side.
see,
I can't help it.
you see the problem and you find the solution. You're solution
Exactly.
oriented.
Exactly. I'm like,
You're
oh, there's
solution
nothing
oriented.
there. You know what? Yeah.
I love it. How, I just really love it. And what I want to know is this, because we've learned so much about you tonight, and there's so much more to you, Lady Cheryl. What do you want your legacy to be known for?
Oh, I never thought of
I was
my
trying to
my
take it easy on you all night, but I got to bring a hard one in.
uh my legacy is to I tend to position myself as a bridge.
Mm, love
There's
that.
something about being a connector for people, you know. I think everything I do, it's so funny you asked me that. Now I'm saying it out loud. That's weird. Wow, I never thought of it this way. I create things for the voiceless. I think because of
Mm,
my experience of growing up being, you know, growing up where I was told not to say anything, you're the child, you should not be heard, or I was denied my voice for so long,
yeah.
not knowing that I was going through with what I was going through.
Yep.
I truly, I know that everything I do is because I don't want people to ever feel like that. It's a horrible feeling, to have your voice be denied. And so whether it's Chonila or POC images or Black Canadian content creators, I'm realizing now that it's all platforms or spaces in order to give, to provide a stage for people to feel this strength, this sense of you can get on this stage and it's okay for you to be heard. That's what this, I make sure I create these spaces to make it safe for people, for the voiceless, in order to be heard. And that's where I believe is where I want my legacy to be.
A connector of people and ideas. Yes,
Ooh,
Sarah, you coined
Sarah,
it right. See?
I'm gonna put that on my bio right now.
A
Okay.
connector of people and ideas. You got it from the scribe herself.
Yes.
And so being, a voice to the voiceless and a person who's creating content and making sure that people's content are seen and heard, if every post, if something happened tomorrow and every piece of information, post, video, article, story, accidentally got deleted,
Mm.
and you could keep one message for the world, what would that message be?
Oh my God.
Don't panic. Don't panic. It's not going to
That is
happen.
wow. Like like any content or it's just oh that's a I don't wow. That's a
What
tough
what what
question.
what would one message you would want to put out there? Make sure it stayed in the earth.
Mm, it's so cliche, but it's so true. No one can do no one can do better service than you. There's no one like you. And so whether it's a podcast, whether it's your everyday job, be the best version of yourself because there's no one else better to do it than yourself.
Yes. See, you went deep, you went good. Even though they're chastising me online, that's harsh, Nicole. First calling me out. Oh my God, Wendy's love the connection. Joan is children can be seen and not heard. We grew up with that phrase. A
Yeah.
connect, So as we wind down and you have to leave the Victory Speak stage, and I'm so glad that you've been here to celebrate the 1 year anniversary, at least the start of the week.
Woo! Happy birthday to
Birthday to
you.
me.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to me. I know. What? Okay, so you're doing 10,000 things,
I
but you
know.
do it so well, but they're all connected. However,
Yeah.
they may look like 10,000. An octopus has one body, but has many arms. So
Yeah.
you keep with those arms, and remember you're the head of the octopus and you have arms. So
Yes.
don't let anybody. We need 7 streams of income, all the great things. So you're going to have the network, you're going to have the sponsorship, you're going to have the investors that you need so that all of us continue to can create and bring good Canadian content. What's the best way for people to find you? And I know I've put it up here tonight for some of it, but shout yourself out, girl. Shout yourself out. I'll,
Oh,
I'll just follow.
you could find me on Instagram. If you just Google Chonilla, Chonilla.
I'm putting it up
Just
there.
think chocolate and vanilla, Chonilla. Um,
Chonilla.
now the site is down for a little bit. It's about to get fixed. I was just telling to our group, like, I don't know if it's a
So
coincidence,
that's
but isn't it odd that there was an article? So there's this Bill C-10 that came.
Mhm,
That's like I think it's on pause right now because the government is basically this
mhm,
bill is to one of the things is to get companies like Netflix are coming to Canada and things like
mhm,
that, but they're not contributing or they're not getting licensed like other broadcasters. So
mhm,
one of the things Bill C is to do that, but there was something in the previous version, a particular area that people were was like, what is this about? Where they're thinking that even as a content creator, like what you and I are doing, that we may be hit, like we would have to also apply as like get a license. So I think a lot of people were like, whoa, wait a second, what's this about? Even like posting on social media, like on
they have
Twitter
yeah,
or Facebook.
they
So
have to be sucking salt or something.
yeah, so a lot of people weren't happy with that section and questioning that section. So the liberal government were like, oh, we're just gonna put a pause on that and kind of like look at it again.
Yeah.
So it's just funny that the week that the article comes out, a couple of days later,
You're
our
psyched
site got
yourself.
hit.
Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
I
You
gotta
know
fix
what?
the site.
Yeah. And this is why we have to be advocates, and this is why we have to start talking about, because unfortunately in the pandemic, and
Yeah.
I know we're going to have many conversations, and Sarah is one of those. Sarah is in Ottawa, and she's in media. it's through the pandemic. A lot of things have gone through the radar, under the radar, and we've missed it. And now things are being written in. So I'm glad this has gotten a pause, and maybe this is another voice that we need to amplify for
Yeah.
Black Canadian content creators, because many don't know that something like this was coming or was trying to come into our laneway. And we have so many regulations with CRTC. Like, even when you just watch BET Canada, I'm like, why are we repeating the same show all the time, all the time, all the time? This is not BET that people
Right.
get, even in the Caribbean. It's not that. Some of the shows we just keep, and especially, like, can we say that, Christmas is not about things that happen in Easter, and it's just a hot mess out there
Yeah.
in TV land. When I just look at the Black shows that are being constantly repeated, like, we have a lot of content,
We
and they keep
do.
repeating the same shows over and over again. But I don't know. That's a show for a conversation for another show,
That's
because that
another
gives me a headache.
conversation that we need to
Okay,
honestly have.
okay,
Maybe we can
we're
like,
tabling that
oh, I
one.
know
You
a
see?
person. I know a person that would be great for this conversation.
Okay, and yeah,
And
we have
he's
to have that
actually
conversation.
he started I'm gonna give him, this is his plug because I think it's amazing what he's doing. It's called the resolve.ca. It's gonna
Okay,
be I believe I'm hoping it's launched now. But the Resolve is basically a media company that is going to focus on Black, Indigenous, and people of color and their voices. It's going to be a online news outlet, and I
okay,
think it's amazing work that he's about to do. Is hitting on, like, giving the voice to the voiceless, and more, like, so much more representation through the current events and news and things like that they're planning to do on
I'm
the
looking forward to
Resolve.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's actually part of he's also a member of the group. Um, so
So we got to
definitely,
bring him on for an interview. So you're going to be
definitely,
interviewing
I
him on
would
your show, and
highly,
I'll interview him on my show. Yeah, we gotta put the
yes,
brother out there.
you need to have
Yeah,
him on the show. Again,
yeah.
it's the resolve.ca.
Resolve.
It's
Okay.
independent Canadian journalism centering, elevating, and celebrating Black, Indigenous, and POC voices and stories.
Woo!
That's what the
Yeah,
site's about. So,
love it.
um, yeah, so to go back on finding me, I don't know how I should not do that. Um,
Because this is what happens when both of us talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could find me Shirley Jos on Instagram, or Black Canadian CC on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and every other Thursday on Clubhouse. I'm running a chat room called Plug-in Thursday. It's an opportunity if you need help, or you want to promote yourself or your latest content, or have any tips that you want to share with the community. Sometimes there's some great tips that
Yeah.
you just discover that it'd be great for the community to find out as well. So this is every other Thursday. The next one will be on Clubhouse, May 27 at 12:15
15.
p.m.
Yeah.
So it's a
12,
nice
1,
little thing
5.
you could do during
12, 1,
lunch.
5.
12:15, yes, during lunchtime break. And now so if you need an invite, DM me, because now Clubhouse is open for Android
Right.
users as well.
But no, that's in the US. Have they opened it up to Canada's yet?
I'd
I
have
think
to
it.
check, because I think
Yeah.
there's other countries they're slowly,
They
like,
bringing
they're
in.
really.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. They're rushing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
other sites like Twitter
Are
already
bringing.
have.
Yeah, they're coming on their heels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I may have one. I may give away one of my invites. If you want an invite to Clubhouse, you got Shirley and you got myself. So
Yes.
if we like you, we sure about you, we'll give you an invite, because our names. The thing is about Clubhouse, when you recommend
Yeah.
somebody, your name's at the bottom. So reputation is all. Your reputation's at stake on your Clubhouse invite. So yeah,
That's real.
yeah,
That's real. So you have to be very an engaging person, and really, yeah, engaging and provide value
yeah.
in Clubhouse. But Clubhouse is amazing. Maybe that's another discussion we should
See,
have.
so we need to have probably have like a
And
monthly
have
thing.
the Queen Carlina. She is
Yeah.
you
She's
and you
rocking it.
and you and
She's slaying
Carlina
it.
are killing it
No,
though
I'm
on
not. I'm
Clubhouse.
not. No, I'm not there as often as I used to be. No, but we so We might have to have like a monthly or monthly chat. Okay, we're gonna figure that out after
Yeah,
the show. Lord have mercy. We just gave ourselves work. We just
I
gave
know,
ourselves
right?
yeah, yeah. We just
That's like
broadcasted, just recorded, pre-recorded. You air it on yours, I'll air it on mine, and bam, we're done. Two shows in one. Just say,
exactly,
just say.
exactly.
Cheryl, I'm so happy that you came here tonight. What a beautiful way to start my anniversary week. And Sarah, Sarah's in agreement. What a great conversation. Great way to mark your podcast anniversary. Yes,
Yes,
it is.
podcast anniversary.
Stella
And
is
keep doing
amazing.
what you're doing, Nicole. I love what you're doing with Victory Speaks. It's so important. There's just I don't know. You are like I don't know how you're finding people, but the amazing conversation you're having. I'm learning so much on Victory Speaks. I can't wait until it's a audio podcast. I'm just
But no, so here's the
saying.
thing. I do have the audio podcast where I just really teach the videos Victory Speaks formula. However, what I am feeling, and this is where I'm going to call on my mentor, Shirley Joseph. Anybody know her? I'm going to be taking all these. So by show 50 is happening by June 3rd, it's going to be show 50. And what I want to do is take all these 50 conversations and turn it into and bring it down to the audio, bring it up to the audio podcast as well. So you
Yes,
and I need a
yes,
conversation
definitely,
and we're going to find
definitely.
the best platform to do the shift and how to shift. So I thank you for your mentorship. I thank you and Tristan when I was just watching and doing my Facebook lives. You and Tristan were Tristan Barracks. If you don't know him, he's an awesome photographer. He's a black content creator. He is a digital storyteller
And a mentor.
phenomenon.
He's mentored amazing
Amazing people.
photographers as
He's
well.
done some really great stuff. He just did something for Roots. You can see it on his YouTube. So look at the making of the
Yes.
Roots jacket for the weekend. Yeah. So that was really cool. And so
Yes.
we have some really great people doing phenomenal work, and we have to celebrate each other and share with each other. So, Shirley, I thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know you got to run, but I am really so grateful. Please don't go. I wish I was a singer. I need to
Don't
get out.
go. Don't go
Go.
away. Please don't go. Is that what you're singing?
Yes, that's
That was
exactly what I
cool.
was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say. I got to
I
get back
love
my
that
vocal coach.
song. Now took me
Leslie
in the
Ann
head.
Raleigh, where are you? I need that vocal coach back into my
Can
life.
I just say your ring is phenomenal. It gives me so much 90s vibe. I saw your ring and I was like, it brought me so much memories. And I'm like, why don't they have those rings anymore?
Listen, it's so hard to find. One of them broke, and the butterfly is my signature, and so one of them broke, and I'm so glad I still have this one. And as you see, the butterfly, it's all about transformation. And I just want to thank everybody who has tuned in for the last year, whether it's one or two. Some people have been online all the time. I'm just so grateful. I got some gifts like Love More created this for me. I don't know if you can see it, Nicole,
That's
Voice of Victory.
beautiful.
So she created this for me and sent it to my home. Joan created my glass, and Emily with Diza. I have my Victory Speaks face mask.
Nice.
Yeah, that was created by Diza Madiza. So she's a branding specialist. So we'll see
Oh,
what we're gonna do with
Marisa,
that.
I think I'm gonna have to hit you up. I need some.
Listen, she's amazing. She does all how she hustles and finding the right face mask. So we're gonna work on some things. So Shirley, thank you so much for coming on, and for
You're
everybody
very
who has
welcome.
tuned in tonight. I am so gracious for you. Remember to check out Shirley, Black Canadian Content Creators, at 12:15 next week Thursday. And this Wednesday, I am going to have a panel from FAR, and we're going to be talking mental health and addiction. So the families and caregivers of those with mental health and addiction. At 8 o'clock on Wednesday, it's going to be an interesting show. It's going to be probably a tearjerker, but you're going to understand what families are going through. And that's going to be part of the new series. One of the new series we're going to be bringing in. We're going to do like a 3-part series or 4-part series on this particular piece with mental health and addiction and families and their caregivers. Friday at 7 p.m. Love More. We do the Speak Up and Empower platform. And, this week, thank God, I'm keeping it a little low key. And on the 29th, we'll be doing the Wellness Revolution. So sign up with them, for them. It's free. This is the last in the series. And I am Nicole Waldron. And, I am you know, your mental fitness coach and your voice of victory. And I want you to live a victorious life. Please follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. and on YouTube as well. I need to build up my YouTube followers. People, will you follow me on YouTube? I really would appreciate it. And it's so simple. Victory Speaks 7. That's how you can follow me. And I just really want to thank everybody who's really been tuning in. I want to do more with the show. It's going to take some time. It may take some money. It's going to take some money because we need to ramp up the website. We need to just do so much, get things going. But I so appreciate you. Remember, love is in the details. And every day, seek to have an inspired conversation with someone you love or someone you meet today or have met along the way. Your conversations can be inspired by your truth, your love, your story. And Shirley Joseph shared her truth, her love, her story tonight with such grace, with such poise, and with such transparency. And she shared the victory moments that she has experienced in her life. May you see the victory moments in your week ahead, in your days ahead, and your years ahead. And you know what? I thank you. And as we leave this space, I want to remind you to have that victory mindset, to work on it. The victory is in the victory is in your perspective. There is a vision you have to create for your own personal wellness, for your own personal life. Be voracious with it. Be intentional on how you will achieve your vision. And you have to cultivate it. And it will transform you. And remember to give yourself that oration, to celebrate yourself, but celebrate others along the way. And you will be restored as you restore your mind to joy and to self care. And the only way we can do it, and Shirley did it so well tonight as she shared, be humble, yield to the process. Victory is your portion. And remember, my friends, new and old, love is in the detail. Thank you to Calabash for allowing me to play this song. I will continue to keep it as my song. I really enjoy everyone. Shirley, thank you for being here tonight. We're waving you off. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless and hope to see you Wednesday. Bye bye.